Welcome to the Big Movement Podcast. If you're ready to create results and make huge strides in your business, finances, personal development, and health, then you're in the right place. Pushing past excuses and powering through procrastination can be a challenge alone. Here, you'll get the support, tools, and knowledge you need to get to the level you desire in your business and life. Let's get started with your host, Byron Ingram.
And welcome to another episode of the podcast. Today, we have Alex Schlinsky, who's the founder of Prospecting on Demand, a digital marketing agency and online mastermind program with over 100 plus members, focusing on lead generation, sales, mindset, and goal setting for digital marketers and entrepreneurs alike. So we're going to learn how he helps entrepreneurs do all this and more, well, from the comforts of home and other fun places around the world. So let's give welcome to Alex. Alex, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Brian. I really do appreciate it. Everyone that's listening, appreciate you guys for being here with us, and hopefully you find value from this.
Well, sure, definitely. You're going to be handing out coupons, right? So there's immediate value, right?
Absolutely. We can do that.
Oh, excellent. All right. So how did you get into this world of prospecting on demand?
Great question. So I actually got into the world of entrepreneurship originally due to both of my parents. Both my parents were entrepreneurs. They both left corporate jobs while I was a child in order to pursue both their entrepreneur dreams as well as dreams of being better parents. And what I mean by better parents is the opportunity to spend more time with their children. I'm one of three sons that they have, and I'm the youngest of the three. And as my parents grew older, working in a corporate job, they really found that their opportunities were limited to spend time with us and their children. And that was really important to them. So they both quit their corporate jobs to pursue their passions as entrepreneurs. And that really really pushed me to wanting to become an entrepreneur as I grew into my adulthood, as I went to college and as I figured out what I really wanted to do with my life. When I left college, I wanted to dive into the journalism space. While it's not necessarily being an entrepreneur because I didn't create my own website or run a new type of journalistic agency, but I did basically was my own boss working from home. It was basically pseudo-entrepreneurship, or as some people like to call it, a wantrepreneur. I felt like an entrepreneur, but it really wasn't. I soon thereafter realized that journalism, while I love sports and I'm very passionate about writing, wasn't something that I felt like I was making a difference for. And the type of person I am, it doesn't work for me if I'm not making a difference, if I'm not doing something that matters. Writing about what Tom Brady is saying, not on the football field, and talking about his wife, it's not useful. It's an escape from the real world, which is fine, but I like to make real impassioned differences for people, and that's something that's really important to me. So when I left the journalism world, it was very serendipitous. I was at a local MMA event in Hollywood, Florida, and I met someone there that was a social media manager for this MMA event and corporation that I was doing journalism for at the time. And he was using a Twitter application I had never seen before called TweetDeck, which I use quite extensively now. But at that time, I had never seen it. We sparked up a conversation. We ended up going out to have dinner afterwards together, and he told me all about this digital marketing world, something that was completely new to me, something I had never really heard of. And I just thought it felt really right for what I was doing. Ironically, I'd already had a little bit of experience in the digital marketing space by working with some lawyers locally, helping them with writing articles on their Facebook page and LinkedIn pages. And that actually was social media management, even if I didn't define it as that. I soon there realized that this opportunity is quite large as Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and all these social media channels open up advertising opportunities. This would create a new need for digital advertising rather than the age-old traditional advertising. As I started moving more into the business of digital marketing, I got an opportunity from this person I had met at the MMA event to take over one of his clients at the time, paying $1,000 a month. I had not been getting paid anywhere near that for my journalism degree, and suddenly I was actually helping a business create more opportunities for themselves. What I was doing was directly influencing their bottom line, and right there was this epiphany that this could really be a long-term business. So I started to try to create my own agency. I purchased a lot of courses online from some of the biggest names in the industry. I stumbled a lot, I succeeded a lot, I failed a lot, but I ultimately figured that this could become something that was very valuable to me. We ended up creating about a six-figure business, and it was very exciting for us, but the problem was I was wearing all the hats in the business. I was the bottleneck of the business. If I went down in any way, there would be no business, and that was very scary. That really just makes me realize there was no business. I was just me. It was just a freelancer and consultant, and that's a really nerve-wracking thing to make a realization of. How I ended up getting into prospecting on demand was through that realization. The realization of that I was truly just a freelancer. And everything that everyone is selling online in the digital marketing space is the opportunity to become a business owner, but it's not really that. It's truly just being a freelancer, because no one's teaching you how to delegate effectively. No one is teaching you how to bring on the right people to your business and to your team. And I thought that was missing significantly. When I had purchased all these courses, I found a severe lack of aid in the biggest and most important process of being a business owner, which is client lead generation and client retention. There was ways on how to do services, like here's how you run Facebook ads, here's how you run Google ads, here's how you do SEO. But there wasn't a way of here's how you get 5 clients in the next month. Here's how you create a sales system that you can then delegate to someone else to do the sales for you. And I felt just very strange about that. I finally found what was called a blue ocean. Now, if you don't know the blue ocean, red ocean idea, blue ocean is an opportunity that is available, that's not competitive market, while the red ocean is the most competitive. And on Facebook today, the most competitive market, probably the biggest red ocean, is selling digital marketing services and selling on how to actually create a digital marketing business. So I wanted to find my blue ocean because I'm very passionate about this. And I found that my blue ocean was to help marketers and entrepreneurs create better prospecting systems to consistently fill up their pipeline, while also having effective sales systems to convert those qualified leads into paying monthly clients on retainer, while teaching you how to create this process, not to be a freelancer, but then to ultimately delegate that and become an actual business owner. And from there, I was creating a real business opportunity for people and really being able to make a difference. Now, 120 Prospecting on Demand members later, and several dozen Hall of Famers, which we call the people that have had the most success in POD. I just feel like I've really found my spot of what makes me feel fulfilled, something that I wake up to every day excited about, something that I go to sleep at night every single night and struggle to fall asleep because I'm so excited about the opportunities that are coming along, not just for me and my wife and my family and my business, but for all the people that are in our business, in our family, what we call it, in our mastermind, because together, Prospecting on Demand, we create such an incredible atmosphere for this community of entrepreneurs and marketers to grow together. And it's created just an amazing opportunity in my life and thankfully in the Prospecting on Demand members' lives as well. And that's kind of the process of how we all got started.
Well, that's incredible that you've done all of that, because I was beginning to wonder if you're going to breathe or not as you kept going and going there. But when you look at the big picture, it's important that you do things that fall into that blue ocean, because you think about when you look at your news feed on Facebook, how many times you see someone offering essentially the same exact theme, but it's just a different spin on it. It's it's not lead generation, it's here's running Facebook ads, here's how you build a business running Facebook ads, and so on and so on and so on. But it doesn't get into the science of, okay, great, you created an ad, but how do you actually generate a bona fide lead for a business? How do you turn that person into a sale? How do you keep that client around once they're there?
Right.
Because that's what matters most. It doesn't do you any good. Like, you can generate leads all day, but if you're not converting them, you're just burning money. You might as well go to Vegas and have a good time in the process.
Exactly.
But you look at how many people are doing exactly that.
Well, I think it's because what they're offering is something that is an opportunity up front without the back end thought process of it all. It's like, well, man, if I'm getting a lot of leads, that's great. Or, hey, here's a business opportunity that I have, and I can create a lot of money because I see this person created a lot of money. But they're not bringing up front everything that's involved. And I think that's really, really unfair to the people that are, investing. This is a big thing for me that I tell everyone that I work with, and I think it's critical. First of all, integrity matters more than anything, in my opinion. Honesty, transparency, and integrity are things that I find to be very important, and people are scared to have that in today's business. And what does that create? People with barriers, people that are cynics, people that are scared to share, and people that are unwilling to invest in themselves because they feel they've been burned so many times. What a terrible way to try to pursue and grow a relatively new business. I mean, we're still in the golden age of digital marketing services. Marketing has been the same for hundreds of years, besides for the change of television. When television got added, big change, right? Radio got added, big change. Internet got added, it's not just a big change, it's a paradigm shift. This is right. Galileo figuring out that the world is not, centered, the entire universe is not centered around the Earth. It's our universe is centered around actually our solar system, which is the sun, right? And he was like thrown into jail because of it, right? It's a paradigm shift. It changes everything, what digital advertising is providing. And when people find that opportunity and they could, teach someone from one pain point, like, hey, I can show you how to create this opportunity by just learning how to do Facebook ads, and all you have to do is just ask your best friend and they'll pay you to do it. But that's not true. No. There has to be a business model behind it. And I see too many people not having that. And it really, really hurts to see that, because people are willing to take other people's finances, maybe their last finances, their last dollar that they're going to invest online before going back to work at, a 9-to-5 they don't like, just because they know that they can get paid, rather than giving them what they need. And that's not appropriate. That's not a fair thing to do. And I try to tell people that, I don't look at people as leads or clients or dollar signs. I look at them as a person. Like, you have a family, right? You have goals and failures and aspirations and qualifications and strengths and weaknesses. You deserve just as much as I do. Why am I any better than you in any way? What makes no difference? I'm not there just to make you open your wallet and pay me by any means necessary. My goal is to create a mutually beneficial agreement that's going to help me, my business, and my family just as much as it helps you, your business, and your family. That matters. And if you're not thinking that way for your business, you're not going to be able to help anyone, and you're certainly not going to be able to help yourself. If all you're thinking about is how can I make more money, well, then you're not thinking about what's important, because the client that you're working with is not thinking about how can I help Byron make as much money as possible. That's not their thought process. It's how can I help myself? If everyone has the selfish mindset, then no one grows. If everyone has the selfish mindset, no one grows. There's a reason I said that twice. Think about it. If I'm instead not focused on just me and my result, but more focused on what the client's result and end result's going to be, wouldn't that benefit both of us more? Why? Because then they're willing to continue to work with me, continue to pay me, continue to be part of my process that will allow them to continue to grow. That's the key. Too many people are short-sighted with that, Byron, and it really frustrates me, because I want to make a difference in this industry to say not everyone that's selling something online is just doing it by any means necessary to throw some trainings together that are willing to have you say, hey, pay me, X amount. That's what I need to get paid. I want to be the person that's going to say, no, I want to care. I want to make sure that this is going to benefit you. I want to make sure that you can grow. Does that mean that we can speak to every single person individually and take the individual amount of time for every single person? Probably not. There has to be a strong scalability factor. But I like to say this all the time, and I think this is super valuable. In the beginning of your business, and the beginning could be the first 5 years, honestly, do what does not scale. Do what does not scale. Right now, for a lot of the people that join Prospecting on Demand, I speak to them one-on-one prior to joining. Now, that's very rare in the industry space for selling info products, because most do it through webinars or high-ticket funnels or anything of that nature, which we do as well. But I also want to make sure that when I speak to someone, they're truly going to benefit by joining Prospecting on Demand. Otherwise, then there would be 40 people in POD at one point that don't like what we're doing because it wasn't a good benefit for them. Well, that sucks. That's not what I'm there to do. I want to make a difference. I want to help people. Right. Now, that can't scale because I can't do it forever. But in the beginning of the process, maybe you consider beginning your first 10 clients. Maybe I consider it my first 1,000. Doesn't matter what you consider it. But in the beginning, in quotations, that arbitrary figure that you come up with, do things that can't scale. Be the person that changes the tide, not the person that follows along everyone else. That's the key.
Right. Well, you have to do more of that, because as you mentioned before, there's too many people that are just putting out something where I'll just record some crap, throw it up there, and sell it, but they're not really looking at the people they're selling to as people, as you were mentioning. What they see is that pattern. Like, I want to follow this, I want to cash in on my payday as well. And there's nothing of substance out there. It's ridiculous when you see the number of courses, and just kind of imagine little air quotes here of courses that people create, that if you just spent 10 minutes on YouTube, you can find every single thing they're talking about in the course that they want to charge $1,000 for.
Of course.
Like, that's not a course. You're just charging something that if someone just took time for free, like, there's no intrinsic value in it. You have to give them something that you're not going to just quickly find there. Of how do you put all these things together? How do you really get into psychology of generating that lead? What type of systems should you have in place that once someone buys from you that first time, how do you keep them there? How do you keep them coming back? How do you build that loyalty? All those types of things which are necessary, but do you see that in the quote unquote here, make a fortune with Facebook ads? You don't see that in those courses.
Right, and the worst part also, Byron, is a lot of the times what they do is they sell you on the vision first, where it's like, here's the business model that you can create, but I'll only give you the appetizer to be able to create that business, and then here's the appetizer cost, that $997 cost, and then once you're done with the appetizer, at the end of the course, I'll upsell you into the business accelerator, or the next step, which is another $997 or $2,000 or whatever it may be, and then you'll get to your next step, rather than giving them all up front or being upfront with what you're offering in the first place. And neither Byron nor I are saying to anyone that's listening that runs a product or is interested in purchasing an online product that everyone does it. That's, first of all, not true. That's one. And two, also, more importantly than that, is there's nothing wrong with having upsells, and there's nothing wrong with having the right offers. Just make sure that what you're offering truly is necessary and truly helping someone. Right. I mean, that's really important. I mean, the other day, I had someone that got in touch with me about prospecting on demand, and they're willing and ready to join. He said, I did extensive research about prospecting on demand, and I found a lot of very, very good things, but it scared me because I didn't see anything negative. Why is that the case, Alex? Why is there nothing negative? Now, normally I wouldn't answer someone like this because it's not worth my time to explain why there's nothing negative online about me, but I did want to explain one process that I think is very valuable to the listeners here. And the idea is that if there's nothing negative, that shouldn't just be a red flag. That should be the process to understand what did that person create in order for someone not to be annoyed enough to get online to put a negative review. Negative reviews, by the way, are not like a common thing. Like, if most people that go to a restaurant and have a bad experience, they're not going to go on Yelp and review them poorly. If you have an egregiously bad experience, they spit in your food, you have a hair in your food, the server was disgustingly rude to you, then you will probably go ahead and write a review or call the manager or something of that nature, right? Right. My thing is that I'm not pretending that every single person that I'm holier than thou, that every single person that in POD is, loves me and loved everything that I brought to the table. Sometimes I might have misstepped. Sometimes I might have claimed something that wasn't the case. Sometimes that I might have said I could have helped someone in a way that I couldn't. I'm not pretending that I'm perfect. No one is. That would be silly. But I've also never egregiously wronged someone, because integrity matters to me. And if anyone feels that they have that way, they know first things first to come to me, not to just post online about Alex is the absolute worst person I've ever worked with, yada, yada, etc., because that's not me. Because I want to be there to care. Because I want to be the person that says, no, reach out to me. Let me try to help you. Let me try to make a difference. I'm sorry if things didn't go the way you wanted to. I don't know if enough people are doing that because they're only focused on the extensive growth of their business. Right. And then that kind of loses what we call in the medical field, bedside manner, right? Like, when did that get thrown out of the window? Why has that been thrown out of the window? You want to retain clients, right? Jay Abraham, a renowned business coach, says an amazing quote that I love. He says that it could cost up to 10 times more to generate a new client than it does to retain an old client. And yet everyone's focus is on new. The abundance mindset is the wrong mindset. It's how can I help the current clients I have, because they're the ones that are going to want to continue working with me. Right. They're the ones that are going to give me the referrals. They're the ones that are going to grow my business.
Right. And it's not only that, if you think about the bigger picture in terms of the negative reviews out there, Will they happen? Oh yes, but I like to use an example. Let's say Nordstrom's, where they provide a high level of customer service. Does that mean every single person walking through the doors is going to be happy? No, because if you go to Amazon or some of these other sites, you're going to see people that will complain about something trivial, like, "Oh my gosh, I love this product, but it was so expensive." Like, well, that's the way they positioned it. If you didn't want to pay that, go buy something else. Not complain about that it's, these things here, or it was, let's see someone staying at a Hilton or a Marriott. They may be complaining, oh, it was so windy out. Oh, there was a hurricane. Really?
Yeah, it's silly how you see that kind of process, but people will create objections in their minds that aren't there. And I tell people in Prospecting on Demand this all the time, and I think this is super valuable to everyone listening. Don't create problems that are not there. It's human nature to like look for issues, because we're never like content ever. It's either you look around, things are good, everyone's healthy, you have a nice bank account, you got food in your fridge, you're able to walk, speak, talk, move around, you're healthy, right? Everything's good, but there's always that one little thing that's bothering you. It's like, well, the clicker, my remote control is not working with this button, and it's really pissing me off, right? It's like you just created a problem for something that's not there. And in business, the biggest thing that I see all the time is like, well, Alex, can I start prospecting if I don't have a website? Can I start being successful if I don't have a LinkedIn page? Can I make money if I don't have a contract? The answer is yes to all of those. Of course, you can be successful without a contract. Of course, you can make money without having a LinkedIn page. Of course, you can get money without doing a website. Don't create problems unless there's the problem that's there. Right. If you spoke to someone that wants to work with you, but they didn't say that they needed a contract, are you freaking out because you don't have a contract? No, look, I'm not here, nor is Byron here to tell you don't use contracts. Yes, contracts are important, they're helpful, they're useful. But if you're going to be working with a 1-month client and you're spending 20 minutes or 40 minutes or an hour and a half trying to create a contract, it's probably a lot better just to go with the process and worry about the contract later, because it's a 1-month deal anyways. On the other hand, if you don't have a website, why are you spending X amount of dollars to build a website or X amount of time to build a website when lead Z, let's say Krista, who works for, a real estate company, she wants to work with you. She didn't ask you about your website. She just wants to know how you can help her with Google Ads. If you know how to do that without having a website, why are you worried about building a website? Creating problems that aren't there. Don't worry about problems that aren't there. Let the objections happen in real time. Let the objections happen in real time. If someone comes to me with an objection for prospecting on demand that I have not yet overcome, then I will deal with it. For example, this objection that I just told you about, the objection, the weirdest one I've ever heard, that there's no negative reviews, well, that's not an objection I've ever had before. So it's the first time that I created it. But what am I going to do? Go create negative objections or negative reviews online? So be it. The process is don't create problems that are not there in your business. Right. Let the flow go. And then learn as you go. Everyone stumbles. No one's perfect. No one's going to be, expecting you to be the all-knowing seer. That's not how it works.
Right.
It's not how it works.
It'd be nice if you could, but
of course.
The reality is different.
Of course. I mean, it's like I like to think of it like with doctors and lawyers, because a lot of people look at doctors and lawyers, as they should, with renowned respect because of the amount of time and effort that they put into their craft, right? They've spent a lot of time and finances into getting this opportunity to be a lawyer or be a doctor. Now, if you're at a doctor's office and the doctor says, I'm not sure, I need a second opinion, are you, throwing your hands up in the air and freaking out? Are you saying, well, you don't know your job, you're not good at your job, I don't want to work with you, I don't know you, you're terrible? No, you understand that he may not know everything. Right. Doesn't mean that he's not the right person to be working with. It just means that he's meticulous. He wants to make sure that he's going to benefit you the best way he can. Same thing when someone speaks to me. Sometimes they expect that I know everything about this business. That's the key. Sometimes they think I have experienced every single thing, but that's impossible. That's impossible. If they ask me a question I don't know, I can't just make up that I know it, because first of all, lying and stepping over my word is worse than telling them that I could do it. I don't want to pretend that I know things I don't. Integrity matters, and it should. But the reality is not everyone expects it. The truth is, when you say that you don't know something anyways, you come off like an actual person. Well, Travis, the reality is I don't actually have that answer, but I'll be happy to look it up for you and get back to you. Is that the end of the sale? Like, it's like, I can't work with you. You don't know it. You don't know that answer. It's never happened to me ever. And people worry about that so much. Like, their knowledge is not, up to snuff. give yourself some credit. Please have some confidence with what you can do, because if you don't have confidence, why in the world should I have confidence if I'm buying from you? It doesn't make any sense.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't mean fake confidence or selfish confidence or arrogance. It means real confidence that you can truly help the people that you're working with. And when you truly want to help the people that you're working with, your business will be as successful as it ever has been, and probably a lot more successful than you've ever been.
Right. One of the most powerful statements, those things I had learned years ago when I was in the Air Force going into it, was you go into a situation, you never say, I don't know. And it was because you don't want to have that sense of uncertainty. So what you would say instead is, I don't know, but I will find out. So you just couldn't leave someone just hanging like, well, crap, I'm screwed. At least it's like, okay, cool, great. They know that it's handled instead of, I guess I'll have to go figure it out myself and go off into the sunset that way. Because, like you said, there's no way in the world any one person's going to know everything. It's just an impossibility. You know, if you look at digital marketing and all the various components, each person's going to have their strengths. And then there's going to be some things like, no, I'm not going to know a single thing about that. Because you could spend hours and hours trying to learn everything, but the reality is it's changing at such a fast pace that, you know, you look at, let's say, Facebook advertising, some of the things that you can do today, they weren't around a year ago.
Exactly.
So
and that happens in every business.
Right.
You know, like we have an accountant, and he's a great tax professional, but Florida changed some of their tax laws. So when we asked him a couple questions, he said, you know what? I don't know. I have to check the latest law. Does that mean that my wife and I are like, get off the phone? Okay, we got to fire this guy. He doesn't know anything. Right. No, that's not how it works. It's his job to make sure that he's keeping up to date. And if he doesn't happen to have the answer that moment, as long as he's going to go out for it and help, so be it.
Right.
So be it.
Exactly.
That's the plan. That's what it is to be someone that is an entrepreneur. Right. No one expects that you have to know everything. So if I would say anything that really resonates with you listening to this podcast, I would say, don't pretend that you have to know everything. No one is omniscient. No one.
Right.
So you don't have to know it all. I promise.
Right. And, you know, I always like to say, I'd be a little worried if someone said, oh, no, that's not an issue. Like, wait a minute. Everyone says I need to look at this, but you're not looking into it. Because that's another issue that you can see out there in the world, is that there's people that they're content with their level of knowledge, so they're not going to invest in learning more. Because if you think of any craft, it's a state of constant learning. You have to figure out what are the changes. Like with your accountant, you have to check the new laws that are there. It's the same thing in any other profession. If you're not going to do that, well, you're going to be out of business pretty soon. Because, you know, let's face it, if you're looking at something like, let's say typewriter repair, I don't know the last time I've seen a place in town that you can get those done at, or even who has.
Yeah, no, absolutely. The world is in a constant state of change and flux. That's like the most normal thing, is that everything's always changing. That's the only constant, right?
Right.
The only constant is that everything changes at all times. And people are like, well, that's super frustrating, but it shouldn't be looked as a frustrating piece. It should be looked as a challenge for you to utilize your brain, which is the most incredible, you know, tool that you have. If you're learning a lot but not implementing, then the knowledge you have is useless.
Right.
If you believe that you know everything and you're not learning anything, the young gun who doesn't have half the intelligence that you have is going to be better and more successful than you. Why? Because they learn the tricks and tools of the trade that you refuse to due to your arrogance. Don't ever be too good, and don't ever believe that you're good enough. Always be right in the middle of someone that's content knowing that I have the right knowledge that I need now, but I'm always willing and ready to learn more. As long as the knowledge that I take in, I implement. The one big thing that I hated, Byron, about being in school was I was a fantastic student. I graduated magna cum laude from the University of Central Florida. I spent a lot of time making sure that I'm going to get good grades and be a good student and yada yada and all this, but the reality was so much of what I learned I would never implement. Ever. Like, for example, taking pre-calculus. I'm never going to implement any of that in my life. The knowledge that I spent taking in, or the time rather that I spent taking in that knowledge without implementing anything, I feel that that's a waste of time. And I feel the school system failed me because I paid for that class to do it, because they determined that that was a prerequisite for me to get the degree I wanted to, right?
Right.
I find that to be beyond silly. But if you're not in school right now, you have an amazing opportunity. You are the person that chooses what knowledge to intake, whether it's free information on YouTube or Google, or it's paid information that you pay online on a platform that you purchase. But if you learn anything, period, end of story, whether it's TED Talks, listening to your grandfather share wisdom, a friend of yours that has business experience, or paying from something online, don't let it go through one ear and out the other. Implement that process. Otherwise, it's a waste of your time.
Right.
So many people will purchase courses or information online and won't open it. I heard that there was some figure, I think ClickFunnels shared this, like 60 to 70% of people that buy a product on ClickFunnels never even sign up for it, like never even open it. That's crazy. What's the purpose of doing that? And then what's the metric of the 30% or 40% that do actually open it? What's the metric of them implementing? With Prospecting on Demand, what we do is we make sure to hold people accountable in POD. We send out, bi-weekly emails. We have our weekly calls to ensure, hey, are you implementing? If you're not, I'm going to call you out.
Right.
Because why are you here? What are you doing this for, if anything? I'm not going to let you just waste your time and your finances just to sit here doing nothing and expect leads to fall in your lap. You've got to put in the work.
Right.
You've got to implement. You've got to implement.
Something that I think it's where we're at that point in the marketplace where we're having a shift. That it's oversaturated with just information products. Where like, here's info. We're now looking at, if someone wants to create their own blue ocean, it needs to shift towards the implementation and accountability marketplace.
Yes,
because that's what's needed.
And that's where I found my blue ocean. So my first blue ocean was to figure out what niche we work in that's different than everyone else's, and that's the prospecting niche. Rather than, I'm not going to teach you how to do a service. You already know how to do the services. You probably bought Dan Henry's course. You probably bought Billie Jean's course. You probably know how to do a service, but now you're struggling to generate the clients, right? That's where we'll help you. We'll help you set up your LinkedIn, how to create a webinar, how to run ads effectively to bring in your own leads for digital marketing services. We'll teach you that. That's our info product, Blue Ocean. But the Blue Ocean that's even more valuable is helping people avoid information overload and shiny object syndrome. We understand that we're part of the problem in the idea that, hey, here's more information for you to learn. But information is worthless as if you're not implementing it, right? Like we said, you've got to implement. The best way to make sure that someone implementing is if someone's holding your hand. But with 125 members and growing consistently per month, I can't hold everyone's hand. That's impossible. But what I can do is send out periodic emails, have a weekly call, hold people accountable, call them out on the group if they're not taking action. That's the key. And that's how we make sure that people are actually growing. We had someone in POD post like last month, and I made an email about it called Your Haters Turned Into Testimonials. And it's interesting, this quick story, and I won't share his full name to be appropriate for his privacy, but essentially, he joined Prospecting on Demand about 5 months ago. He was very active in the beginning, utilized some of our processes, and stumbled a little bit in the beginning and just wasn't really having the success. So I wanted to make sure that I can help him. So I reached out to him one-on-one to make sure that I can make sure he's implementing appropriately, spoke to him a couple times, and then he basically tried to disrespect my time and, overstep the bounds, right? The idea of like giving an inch and taking a yard or so, right? Now, I expressed that to him. I said, look, very simply, I've tried my best to give you the one-on-one time that I'm here for you, but I can't continue to just give you one-on-one time. You need to continue implementing yourself. And I don't think he took that the right way. I think he was upset. Maybe that's partly my fault, and I learned from that, as always. But essentially, he was MIA for several months. Suddenly, out of nowhere, he posted on the group after maybe 2 or 3 months MIA and posted this long apology to me and the team and to a couple people that specifically helped him in Prospecting on Demand. And he said, look, I was unhappy with what I did, but it really had nothing to do with Prospecting on Demand or Alex or Shira, my wife. It was actually me. The problem was that I spent all the time learning the information, but I would refuse to implement it unless Alex was literally watching over my back. And I didn't pay for that when I joined Prospecting on Demand. And that's not fair to have expecting from him to watch over my back and make sure I'm doing the right thing every single time. Whereas I paid for the information to implement, and I just didn't. So last month I was down on my luck, and I looked at my finances and I realized, look, I got to make something happen. So I went back into POD and I started implementing, and I just closed today a $3,000 retainer client, and I'm so happy to say that. I'm able to quit my 9-to-5 job now, and I have that going. And it was an amazing post. It was one of the most amazing things I'd ever read, because it was someone kind of going through their own process of learning what it takes to understand, first of all, the product that you're purchasing, but more so it's if you're getting an info product, especially so that someone that's at the helm like myself that truly does care, wants to help you, and really wants to help you grow, even willing to give you one-on-one time in addition to what you're doing to make sure that I can help you grow. But the realization that even just learning the information is not enough. The implementation is what matters. And complaining or making excuses for yourself is not going to make a difference. So when you sit down there and realize, okay, it's not on anyone else, this is on me. Let me implement and start seeing what happens. And then suddenly there's a $3,000 retainer client that's now paying you. That's a pretty amazing realization and a really great life lesson, not just in business. It's a great life lesson. It's the idea of if someone's willing to help you, don't just let it go through one ear and out the other. My parents would say that to me all the time when I was a little kid, and I honestly just allowed that sentence all the time to go through one ear and out the other because that's how you are as a kid. But don't act like a child if you're an adult, especially as a businessman or as an entrepreneur. Be that adult. Be the person and listen to the person that you're trying to, get aid from. You purchase the aid so that you can get the help you want. And that's what we want to do, is help you. Simple as that.
Right.
The best thing we can do to help you is hold you accountable to taking action consistently. The best thing you can do to yourself is making sure you're holding yourself accountable and you are taking action consistently. That will help you grow.
Right. And that's something that you have to do because too many people, they don't understand the expectations up front. So just like in that particular individual's case, so they had to hit that wall in their life to realize, like, oh my gosh, it was all me. It wasn't the program that didn't work. It was my lack of action. And ultimately, I think this is where it goes back down to when you look at any type of program to be successful, you have to turn the clock back and look at what was it, the one thing that was missing. If you look at the education system that people go through, we're always taught, okay, you have to learn, you have to learn, you have to learn. Where in the world, if you think all the way from kindergarten all the way through, getting your college diploma, was there a course on implementation?
No, that's the problem. The only implementation, Byron, is the test, right? So that makes you believe that, I just store the knowledge and then implement it for a short 30-minute to an hour period with multiple choice questions or short answer questions.
Right.
That doesn't set you up at all to be successful in business at all. Now, the good thing is, though, in certain college programs, there's internships or externships. That's implementation.
Right.
Hey, you're in a classroom. Here's what you need to do. Now you're going to go into an office and you're going to implement. That's a big thing. Why is that not part of middle school and high school? It should be, because you're not teaching them any implementation skills. You're telling them to rely on their brains just remembering things. You're not testing people on recollection. That's not my goal. In prospecting on demand, I'm not teaching anyone to tell me I'm not teaching or testing anyone on their memory. I don't care how strong your memory is, how strong your recall is. I care about you taking action consistently and making it a system for yourself. That's the biggest thing. And that was the thing I struggled with the most. When I was growing up growing up's the wrong word, but as I was growing into the business, my biggest problem was organization. We had over a dozen clients in a digital marketing agency. I was coaching some people. I had journalism still I was doing. It was the most random days there ever were. Like, I woke up and I had no idea what I would do that day. That's horrible. How many people get up, look at their computer, and don't know what to do? A lot of people.
Right.
And that's a really bad thing. The biggest reason why is because you don't have a system to implement. When Sharon and I, my wife, she's huge on organization. She's very good with it. She told me that I need to start focusing on a calendar every day. She forced me to implement that calendar every day. That is now a ritual of mine. It's become a system of mine. It's second nature. And the best thing is, I have peace of mind knowing that my tasks are always there every single day.
Right.
Like, Byron, I can't miss this call because it's on my calendar. Right? It's impossible. It's on my calendar. I can't miss it. It's there.
Right.
But if I'm not putting an hour a day to prospect, then I won't prospect. If I'm not putting an hour a day of following up, I'm not going to follow up.
Right.
What are you doing right now, yourself, the person that's listening to this podcast? Are you actually creating systems for yourself? Or are you just going through today randomly doing things? Well, I'll watch this video and then I'll learn from that. Oh, and then I'll do this. And then when it comes to recall, you remember bits and pieces from everything rather than a true full focus picture of what you need to do A through Z.
Right.
That's what I'm trying to accomplish in prospecting on demand. Give you the A through Z process.
And it's a necessity. I think what people have to grasp onto is with what you just said about a calendar. That is the most priceless thing anybody can do in terms of improving their productivity and increasing overall results. I look at my day. If someone says, "Oh, can we just meet on such day?" Like, no. Like, why? Because everything is on my calendar. I first put on all the meetings. Then, okay, here's the task I have to go on there. And depending on the day, sometimes even my meals will go on there, because if I don't put on there, I know what happened. Like, it'd be 4 o'clock afternoon. Why am I so hungry? Like, crap. So guess what? It goes on the calendar.
I know that life, my friend. I think everyone that's an entrepreneur will laugh at that one. Who has not gone through a day where it's like, wait a minute, it's 4 o'clock and I haven't eaten even breakfast? Oh, God.
Right.
Am I going from that first coffee right now? Oh, my.
Right.
That's scary.
But those are things you have to do, because you get so ingrained in it. And because, those times like, wow, my productivity is getting slower and slower as your body's telling you, like, okay, you see that caffeine and such you had in the morning, you're on empty. You need to do something about it.
Yeah, exactly.
But
also, another thing that's super valuable in this process in terms of the calendar, it's not just your day-to-day or monthly or weekly activities. It's also the opportunity for the 80-20 review, this Pareto principle. And if you don't know what the Pareto principle is, I strongly recommend that you do a research on it. Everyone that's listening to this now should be part of your monthly ritual. We do it twice a month in my business. The 80-20 principle is the idea of what 80% of the results are coming from 20% of your actions. And you can take that in any sort of way, and you can have different metrics. The standard is this 80-20. Why it's called Pareto is he was the original philosopher, or I think philosopher is the right term. I might be wrong there. But the idea is, regardless, 80-20 is a great principle to run your business by. And if you're looking at what you're doing every month and you go back at the end of the month and you review, well, where did my most success come from? And you look at your calendar, you should have a good understanding of what you did every single day because it's in the calendar.
Right.
And then you can look back and say, well, I'm not happy with the results I spent, and I only did, or the results I got this month, and I only did, 30 minutes of prospecting a day. Maybe this month I should spend an hour of prospecting a day and then go back and review and see what happens there.
Right.
Or, hey, I did 5 podcasts this month, and that generated 10 new clients. Maybe I should do 7 next month.
Right.
Maybe that's the case. That's a great thing. For reviewing your business is also part of optimization. It's really key to being able to grow consistently, not staying stagnant.
And that's something that people have to do more of, is look at the metrics, because if you're just flying by the seat of your pants, it's, can you have some success? Sure. But I kind of liken it to, if you're flying, let's say, in an old airplane, that everything is just by visual flight references. You're looking around trying to navigate, like, okay, there's that barn over there, there's a tree, and that's how you're navigating. Versus you're looking at, you have all the data that you need in terms of, okay, here's our fuel consumption, this is the way the winds are going, and here's the GPS. You know exactly what you need to be doing to get to your destination in the most efficient way possible, versus, well, we kind of went all over the place, we made a couple of detours, but we eventually got there. Not efficient at all.
No, exactly. Efficiency and effectiveness are both very important. It's a fantastic chapter in the 4-Hour Workweek. If you guys have not read that, really strongly recommend you read it. But if you just search efficiency and effectiveness, Tim Ferriss, oh man, it's amazing. It really gives you a good understanding of the difference between the two terms, because people use them, interchangeably, and they're not the same thing. It's really not. Something that can be effective doesn't mean that it's efficient, and something that's efficient doesn't mean that it's effective.
Right.
It's really important that you understand the difference. And it's not like I'm sitting here pretending that it's semantics or anything of that nature. It just matters in the understanding of how you operate,
right,
and how you condition yourself to be successful.
Right. I think that a great visual for someone where they're trying to think, well, I don't get it. Imagine trying to use a sledgehammer to, let's say, hang a picture on the wall. Can you do it? Yeah. Is it probably the most efficient way? No, because you're probably going to break a thumb in the process.
Right. So it's super effective, hardly efficient.
Right.
That's the idea.
Right.
That's the idea.
Right.
And on top of that, it's probably not even that effective because it might destroy your entire wall.
Right.
So you get the idea,
Right.
right? So it's really important to understand the differences between those and being able to kind of, set up your day. I think overall what Byron and I are really trying to express to you and everyone that's listening is the idea that you need to have structure in your day. You need to have accountability, meaning either a mentor or a group of people that are telling you what you're doing is right or wrong. And ultimately, you need to be optimizing yourself every month, not just flying by the seat of your pants, but really getting a review of what you're doing. Best way to do that is also by incorporating that calendar. And I think that's really what my wife and I have really focused on doing in our business, and then sharing that sentiment with people in Prospecting on Demand, where we, set up goals every single month, first of the month. And at the end of the month, we review those goals together as a community in Prospecting on Demand to see what worked and what didn't. But the process that we've implemented is, I don't want you just to tell me a goal. Create an action plan for that goal. Because otherwise, if you just set a goal and don't achieve it, what did you learn, Byron? Why didn't you achieve it? Well, Alex, because it didn't happen. Oh, that's great. That helps us to learn for the next month. No. Instead, it's, Byron, you want to hit five clients this month. What's the process for you to do that? I'm going to reach out to 100 people on LinkedIn, 300 emails, this process, this, that, and the other. Okay, at the end of the month, did you hit all your metrics and your roadmap? Yes, I did, but I didn't hit my goal. Well, that's good to know, because now we can optimize it and make it better for the next month. It's not just the idea of every single month you have to hit a goal, you have to be successful, you have to do this. It's more so that you have to be always optimizing yourself and being better consistently. Right. My goal in my life, and I think this is a really big thing that I like to touch upon, and I think it will resonate with you, Byron, and everyone listening, is the idea of just getting 1% better every day. And that's not just as a business person, that's as a man, as a husband, as a future father, God willing, as a friend, as a son, as a brother. Those things matter to me. They matter a lot. And while everyone else is focused on the competition, in quotations, because that's where our world just breeds this competitive environment. Everyone has to be cutthroat instead of having integrity and caring about one another for some reason. I don't know why. Don't know why that's the case. But instead of focusing on someone else, something that's out of what we call the locus of control in psychology, I'm focused on me. I'm focused on how I can make myself better every single day. Right. And in turn, that will make all my relationships better. That will make me a better coach to the people that I'm teaching in Prospecting on Demand. And when I mention that to the people in Prospecting on Demand, it helps appease their mind instead of them thinking about, well, why is that guy doing so well? It's not why is that guy doing so well. It's like, how can I be better myself every day? I don't care what he's doing, but if I like what he's doing, then I should go speak to him. Not be jealous of him, not resent him, not despise him. Let's see what he's doing so maybe I can better myself. Right. What's wrong with that? What's the process? What's wrong with that process? I like that process a lot more than the competitive environment. And that's what we focus on in Prospecting on Demand. I use this final little story a lot of times in my sales calls, and it's not a technique. It's truly the reality of POD. If you're climbing Mount Everest with a bunch of people that are expert climbers, or even if they're novice climbers, someone 5 steps ahead of you that's up in a dangerous area tells you, hey, if you go left, you're gonna fall, but if you go right, you're gonna make it. Are you gonna go left? Well, if you go left, you chose to take a path against someone's mentorship. That's your choice. Everyone has that choice in their life, and sometimes we make those choices. Great example is when your parents tells you not to do X, but you do X. Okay, you learn from it, right? Now the goal is you'll teach your kid not to do X, and hopefully they won't do it. But if they do, then they'll teach their kid not to do X, right? Same idea in this business. In business in general, and in Prospecting on Demand, if I'm telling you, hey, go right and do this process because I know going left will make you stumble, you should probably go right. Not because I'm trying to screw you, but because we're trying to make you get up to the ladder. We're trying to help you grow, trying to help you get up to the mountain. I don't like the idea of this singular ladder to success, that in order to get up to the ladder of arbitrary success, whatever that even means, is you got to throw other people off of it, step on their shoes and their heads and steal all their stuff and funnel hack them. And what? Why is that the thought process? How about there's a mountain, we're all climbing it together, and we're all trying to help each other grow? That's what POD is about. Right. And I express that community environment to everyone. That's why we have a family atmosphere. That's why when people join and say, hey, I'm new to the family, there's 20, 30 comments of people saying, welcome, how can I help you? Hope you're doing well. Let's get you to your goals. That's not just me. That's the community environment that we've created because I believe in cooperation. I believe in cooperative environments. Doesn't mean I don't like competitions. I'm a huge sports fan. Obviously, I love competition. But I think cooperative environments create even better things than competitive ones.
Definitely. As we begin wrapping up everything here, what's one thing you recommend that people do that truly want to improve the results they're getting in business?
Wow. Truly one thing. I think we really already said that. That would be the calendar. But in terms of, is there a specific process in sales and prospecting? Is there a specific question? Because in general, without a question, it's implementing the knowledge that you're learning. That's the biggest thing. So if you're not implementing knowledge, that's a failure. Then the calendar is also very important. But is there a specific piece of their business that you're trying to ask for? Like in a specific sales?
In this case, it's important because what you just said right there, that's powerful. It's implementing the calendar, but also more importantly, implementing the knowledge. Because if you look across the board, if people did that one thing, it would make a dramatic difference because they're not doing it.
Yeah, so I think I can touch upon here the shiny object syndrome, and I think this will be a good way to close out. I think a lot of people as marketers or entrepreneurs, there's a lot of information overload in shiny object syndrome. If you just scroll through Facebook for like 25 minutes and look at the ads, you'll probably see an ad from myself, Dan Henry, Scott Olford, Dave Morgenmoser, Joshua Harris. You'll see a dozen ads offering what you would think is basically the same thing. That's what you think. And then you get overloaded with the idea of, well, there's too many choices. I don't know what to do. I go to the gas station. I don't even know if I should pick a Snickers or a Butterfinger. Why are you asking me what I should do with the $997 choice?
Right.
It's too much for me. I don't know what to do. So what happens with information overload? You end up learning a ton and not implementing anything, and then it just becomes a loss. So I really believe in this shiny object syndrome, where people will learn something because they either paid for it or got free information, and then they'll try it out for a little bit of time, maybe a week, 2 weeks, a month maybe, and then the results don't pan out the way they want to, and instead of optimizing, instead of believing in the offer and the opportunity that they created, they move on to something else, to new shiny object. That is the biggest way for you to fail consistently in your business. Stick to something that you believe in that will work, and continue to progress in that process. If you set out a calendar, if you set out an implementation tactic, and you actually act upon it and hold yourself accountable every single day to doing that, by the end of the month, whether or not you've hit your goals, whether or not you've achieved what you wanted to achieve, you'll at least understand what you can do better because everything has been tracked for you. And then you can just optimize it rather than jumping from idea A to idea B to idea C to idea D. And if you want my help in doing that, and you want to be a part of a community that will help hold you accountable and keep you on the right track, you're more than welcome and free to join Prospecting on Demand. Now, anyone that joins Prospecting on Demand from Byron's recommendation, and anyone listening to this podcast today, if you mention that to me when you join, I will give you $100 off access to Prospecting on Demand. No problem. My goal here would be to help you grow and continue to implement effectively, not shiny object syndrome, not bouncing around. So regardless of whether or not you join Prospecting on Demand, and you can find more information at prospectingondemand.com/welcome, regardless of whether or not you decide to join, the biggest thing I could tell you today is utilizing that calendar, implementing what you learn, and not just taking knowledge for the sake of taking knowledge. Implement the knowledge. That's the key.
Awesome. Well, Alex, I want to thank you for coming onto the podcast today and sharing a wealth of wisdom about prospecting, about systems, and ultimately about how to avoid that shiny object syndrome and start implementing the stuff that people need to be doing anyways.
Beautiful. I appreciate it so much, Byron. It was really a lot of fun to be here, and everyone that was listening, appreciate you guys taking the time.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thanks for listening to the Big Movement Podcast today. And be sure to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Now that you've surely been inspired to take your entrepreneurial career and business to the next level, you can stop by the website and get more. And if you're ready to boost your business brand, be sure to grab your free report, 7 Easy Steps to Build Your Brand Today.